Hi everyone, my name is Chris Panny with The Body Wish, your gateway to holistic nutrition. Welcome to my series, Wellementary, where I connect with experts in fitness, nutrition, and mindset. This is The Body Wish. My name is Chris Panny, your host for my Wellementary series. My guest is Dr. Linda Berry, and she is a testament to the power of the human spirit. Dr. Berry is a former dancer whose life was derailed by a catastrophic accident, but she turned her year-long recovery into a success story. She has flourished with a 44-year career in chiropractic care and nutritional coaching, and despite permanent physical challenges, she has dedicated decades to helping others heal. Please welcome Dr. Linda Berry. Dr. Berry, it's an honor to have you here on my series, Wellementary. You were a gymnast in high school. Tell me more about what your specialty was as a gymnast.
Oh, I love the uneven parallel bars. I got terribly bruised up at my hip joints, but I love spinning around and flying through space like a superhero.
Right on. Wow. So you got involved with dance and theater. At what age did you develop a desire to dance?
Well, actually, when I was 4 years old, maybe some of our older viewers would remember the Lawrence Welk Show. And on the Lawrence Welk Show, there was a section where Sissy and Bobby would come out and dance. And my parents would keep me up when we were staying with my grandparents, and I would dance around the living room and entertain my the adults that were there. But then in high school, when I was a gymnast, one of my fellow gymnasts was a dancer. She had studied in ballet school, and she had been requisitioned, I guess you could say, to do a dance performance as one of, the high school kind of art things. And she asked me to be in the performance. So then I started dancing, as you might say, semi-professionally. Then, when I was in college, I became a theater dance major. I studied different kinds of dance, and there were other dancers there who noticed me and asked me to join their company. It was the American Dance Asylum, Bill T. Jones, and Arnie Zane, and Lois Welk. Bill T. Jones is now world famous. He's been on the cover of Time magazine, et cetera, et cetera. So I joined the company when I was still in college, and then after college, one of the main principals in the company, Jill Becker, she decided that she wanted to go get a master's degree. So instead of having to work other jobs and be a dancer, she could get a real job in the arts. So they asked me to join the company at that point.
I always find it fascinating when kids have that kind of calling in life at a young age. In your case, dance resonated with you at such a young age. I went through something similar. When I was 10, I knew I wanted to be a musician.
All of us learn differently in different proportions and according to what sense is more dominant. So as a dancer, kinesthetics, the muscle movement of the body is the primary sense. And I'm very kinesthetic, but also visual. And so for you, you were probably more auditory because you were focused on going to music.
Yeah, well said. You went through a terrible traumatic experience that altered the direction of your life. Can you share what happened?
Yeah, sure. My life changed like that. Bill and Arnie and I were driving down to New York City. Arnie's brother was moving, and so getting rid of some furniture. And so Bill and Arnie rented a van, and I hitched a ride with them. You think you're immortal in your 20s, so they were both securely seatbelted in their seats in the U-Haul van, but I was sitting on pillows in the middle of the two seats. And we left after we had just finished a dance performance series we all lived together in a neo-Greco mansion. It's not grand. It was, just that was the style of the architecture. So after the dance performance, we left, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning when the van actually tumbled out of control. Arnie was driving. He thinks it must have hit some black ice on the side of the road. Oh. And so we went across 2 lanes of the highway there, across the median, and across the other 2 lanes of the highway going in the opposite direction. And I crashed through the windshield, which crushed my first lumbar vertebra, and then came back in. And so that was the big change. I stayed with the dance company for a year, doing rehab. I was in the hospital for 3.5 months. But when I got back out, I moved back into the building that we all lived in, and hoped to get full physical capacity back. But that didn't happen. I still have a paralyzed right foot and atrophy in my left thigh. So I couldn't be a professional dancer anymore. And our dance company actually then broke up. And I had been helped with chiropractic care as a dancer for some neck issues and some sacroiliac issues. And I also had a big interest in nutrition. I was kind of a health coach, which is a term used widely today, to my artist crowd. I would read Prevention Magazine and tell them what herbs or fasts or things that they could do in order to help them with different maladies. So I decided to marry those two together, nutrition and chiropractic, and take that on as my new direction in life.
Wow, fascinating. I am so sorry you went through that. Uh, Bravo for not giving up. And not only did you not give up, you were willing to change course. You chose chiropractic care and nutrition when a lot of people might have just thrown in the towel. And that's yeah, that is inspirational. Thank you for sharing that.
I felt like I was in a state of grace. I had been studying karate at the time, and my dance community all came and showered me with love. And the karate students also came and visited me while I was in the hospital. And my family, of course, came as well. So I felt like I had a whole lot of support, and everybody was rooting for me to get back and be at the same level that I was before, which unfortunately didn't happen. But you have to think, Chris, what's the alternative? I mean, if I had turned away and turned into that hole of depression and oh gosh, I'm disabled and paralyzed and my life is ruined, what kind of life, what kind of effect could I have? I think in some systems they talk about personality types, and I'm definitely into service. So instead of letting it crush me, I let it lead me to learning ways to not only help my own self, but in order to be of service to others.
You get the superhero award for keep going, and it's an amazing story. It's an amazing transformation, and it tells me that you really have a mindset that is not a quitter. A lot of people could learn from your inspirational story.
Thank you.
So, you chose chiropractic care. If I may ask you, what are some of the difficulties and rewards of being a chiropractor?
Well, every day I get to help people. And it also helps me because in order to be of service to others, I need to stay centered, I need to stay grounded, I need to stay in the flow of energy. So, more and more in my practice, I work from a place of my heart. And not everybody like me is willing to do the work to get themselves better. So, understanding that at least they're coming to me for help, and then with my gentle nagging, or as one of my patients asked me, there must be another way you could say nagging. I said, how about persistent encouragement? So, um, with some of my patients, I'm persistently encouraging them to get out and exercise and eat better, because even if they come to me every day, there's 23 hours when they're not in my presence, and what they're doing away from me is definitely impacting their life and their health and well-being.
What about any downsides to being a chiropractor? What other difficulties?
Yeah, sure. So I think the profession is really faced with a lot of prejudice. It's less now as there are younger medical health professionals. But back in the 1970s, the American Medical Association actually lost a lawsuit to the chiropractic profession because they actually had printed in their bylaws that none of their members could associate with the quacks, with the chiropractors. So they were actually trying to kill our profession. So now they had to take that out of their bylaws. And as I say, doctors tend to have more of a respect, the younger doctors. And also, there are doctors who are into functional medicine. And so, chiropractors who do more than just thinking that adjusting the spine is going to fix everything. They're respected because we're colleagues. I don't do drugs or surgery, and they don't know as much about alignment and nutrition and trauma healing, which are some of my specialties. So I have medical doctors who come to me for care, and also I have medical doctors who refer patients to me.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah, but the insurance industry also, for instance, in Medicare, they won't pay chiropractors to do an initial exam. And what doctor can work with a patient without doing an initial exam? I mean,
Yeah.
that's malpractice. That's liable. You can't do that. You have to examine a patient before you know how to help them. So unfortunately, my Medicare patients have to pay out of pocket for that. And then also, Medicare just pays for adjustments to the spine. Well, I work a lot with muscles, with nutrition, with teaching people exercises, etc., which other professionals who do those same services, for instance, physical therapists or osteopaths or physiatrists, um, they are paid for those type of codes. But Medicare will only allow chiropractors to be paid for spinal manipulation. So that is a problem because patients who have Medicare have to pay out of pocket if they want to take advantage of that level of care from me. And it's, essentially it's discriminatory, which is always a bad thing.
Yeah, yeah, well said. While you were in school studying to become a chiropractor, and I guess this could also apply to after school, did you ever feel that you were overwhelmed or maybe this wasn't such a good move after all? Or were you totally on board once you made the commitment?
Oh no, I was driving right ahead. I was very excited to
Nice,
offer my services to the world. Yeah, yeah.
nice. No, it sounds like you went full speed ahead. You never had any doubts, and you've enjoyed the ride ever since you made the choice.
Well, I can admit that after chiropractic school, I couldn't read a book for 3 years because there was so much devotion that I had to spend looking at the books and studying during chiropractic school.
Nice. And how many years now have you been in practice?
44 years. Yeah,
Oh,
long
okay.
time. Yeah.
Nice. Can you tell me about the methods and strategies that you use to heal people?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are over 300 different types of chiropractic. When most people think of chiropractic, they think of the doctors that turn you on your side and they push hard and they crack your neck. I never liked that kind of care. So when I was in chiropractic school, I studied lots of different types of techniques, but I moved towards a technique called applied kinesiology. Kinesio is just muscle motion, the study of muscle motion, and applied kinesiology is how you can let information from the muscles direct what I know about the patient. So, for instance, if someone's shoulder's like this shoulder here might have a weak latissimus dorsi. That muscle starts here, it fans down and goes into the low back. So, patients with low back pain often have a weakness in the latissimus dorsi muscle. So that in applied kinesiology, we talk about 5 factors of the IVF. That's the intervertebral foramen. So that's the hole between your vertebra where your nerves come out and go to the target tissues. So there's blood supply, there's lymphatic supply, there's the bony alignment. Then there's also um, muscles and tendons, also the soft tissue component. So I address all of those factors. And very interestingly, problems can start in the feet. Even if people don't have pain in their feet, what most people don't know is that there's 3 arches in the feet. There's one on the inside of the foot, one on the outside of the foot, and then also right here, the metatarsal area. So if they have a problem with pronation, which 90% of American adults do, that strains their knees and can cause problems with their knees and maybe make them have to have a knee replacement. If you have problems with this lateral arch collapsing, then that can lead to plantar fasciitis. And if you have a problem with the collapse of the metatarsal arch, that can lead to neuroma, which is a tumor, not a cancerous tumor, but a tumorous growth around the nerve that takes up space and causes people to have pain. So, but beyond that, the problems with the feet, if you've got a problem in your arches, it also affects the whole rest of your body. Every time we take a step, the arches are supposed to absorb the shock of the steps. So if our arches are collapsed, that's going to put stress in each of the joints going up to the body, even up to the TMJ, your jaw joint. So zero point 0.5 times the amount of pressure. But with every foot strike, if we're not a trained runner, we're pounding 2 to 5 times our body weight into the rest of our body. So getting a good chiropractor, making sure you're well aligned, that your head is over your shoulders instead of out like this. We're all with our phones and we're doing our tech neck thing, or our keyboards and we're bent over our keyboards. And so our head is jutting far forward. So that creates a lot of problems. So I look a lot at the posture, but I also look at how people's digestion is, how they're sleeping, what's going on in their emotions, because they can somaticize. What that means is that the problems going on in their head or the traumas that they've experienced at some period in their life can land in their body and continue to express itself as pain or disruption, not only in the musculoskeletal issue system, but also in the internal organ and gland system.
Hey, I want to ask you a question. You mentioned something a moment ago about people extending forward, whether they're typing or on their phone. Will that remove the curvature that's supposed to be in the neck?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to turn to my side so you can see that when our head's forward like that, we're compressing actually our brain stem. Our brain stem comes down into the upper part of our neck. That regulates our heart rate and also our breathing, and also affects the blood flow into the head. So tragically, Chris, the more forward our head goes, the greater our risk for dementia. And none of us wants to
Oh,
lose our minds.
I'll pass.
Right, right.
I want my mind. Uh,
That's right. So if anybody's seen the series Downton Abbey, that Victorian posture where we're totally upright, that's the kind of posture that we should be having without having to wear corsets, ladies.
well, I'll put on a corset. I can be one of the girls. What kind of professionals do you like to collaborate with?
Well, personally, I have three chiropractors that take care of me. I go to see an osteopath, and also I have a primary care doctor. His name is Elson Hawes, and he's written books on fasting and nutrition. So, a holistic primary care doctor is a good doctor to have. And then I see an acupuncturist who also does lens therapy, which is helpful for our brain waves. And she does microcurrent as well. So she's wonderful. And I also see a massage therapist. She does that very deep tissue stuff, which makes me crazy and sore, and I hate it. And so she's very kind to me, and she just gives me nice, soothing massages.
Nice. You know, you went through such a traumatic ordeal and you've managed to come out on the other end and remain positive. What do you do to help others who feel demoralized in their own life?
Well, on my website, which is drlindaberry.com, DR for doctor, you can find a 15-minute guided meditation. It's called Smile into Your Distress. So when we're upset, our physiology turns to shutting down our digestion, making our muscles tight, impeding our circulation, messing up our sleep. So if we can shift that stress into energy. So I talk about it as transforming stress into vitality. So you have the fuel to build and to carry out your life and dreams. It's free. It's on my website. You just give me your name and your, you put in a username and a password and, no, you give me your name and your email address, and then we send you the MP3 audio program that you can use on any listening device that you like. So that's something that's helpful. In trauma healing, there's some different, I call them tricks. So if you've got pains and issues from the mid chest line up, you can focus on your hands and your fingertips or the top of your head in order to dissipate that pain. So by changing your focus, by using your prefrontal cortex, you're able to manage the other parts of your brain that are screaming out in pain or depressed or taking you down a dark pathway. So using your focus to focus on your hands can help to dissipate and discharge the pain. And then if the problem is from your mid chest line down, you focus on your feet. So thinking of something good, focusing on these different parts of your body can actually lead to what's called a discharge. So you might notice that there's a tingling feeling or a feeling of warmth or fluid flow or just relaxation, or you might even get a little trembling as this trauma or pain that's been trapped in your body is leaving your body. So I often give patients homework, and I'm guilty of giving people too much homework, I'm told. So teaching people things that they can do at home to help themselves, because as I said, even if they're here every day, which nobody is, if they don't carry through and do self-care things at home, then they're kind of defeating the purpose of building their own health and well-being.
Hmm. Any final thoughts you'd like to add?
Yeah, well, I'm really liking the new direction that I'm moving in. It's regenerative medicine, and there are extracellular vesicles that come out of stem cells in your body. And as we get older, they decrease. Everything wears out as we get older. We're made of material, and material wears out. So we can replace them, these extracellular vesicles, that have growth factors in them and RNA molecules in them that help to repair and regenerate our tissues. So I'm very excited about doing that. And also, I do a lot of work with energy medicine, not channeling energy through my hands, but you can see behind me on the table, there's a mat on top of the table. It's called the cloud, and that has in it different frequencies. There's 5 programs: relax, balance, energize, synchronize, and transform. So what you may not know is your body is not only fluid, but it's also electrical. We're electrical and we're chemical. And each of our different cells and systems has a different electrical signature when it's optimally healthy. So by laying on this mat and turning it onto one of those programs, you can help stimulate the systems that help you to relax or transform or to energize, etc. So I'm very excited about having that in my toolbox to help my patients with.
Nice. Well, I certainly sense the enthusiasm. Um, well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you, Dr. Berry. It's an honor to have you here. Thank you for setting time aside to tell us about your life and how you've evolved into the person that you are. Down in the description, there's contact information if you'd like to schedule a consultation with her. Dr. Berry, once again, thank you so much for joining me.
And thank you for asking me. It's been a pleasure, Chris.